Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your den of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news, the week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Come get some.
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
And good afternoon, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and yes, we do answer the phones and help you with your data issues on your crowdfunder, putting our 35 years of IT and database development experience to your benefit with Critical Blast Consulting. If we can get Critical Blast leaf raking put together and make it to your house in time for fall, we'll do that. We will do anything. We are here for you. And today we are here for our guests. Please welcome with me to the show Nick Henry and Mike Burton for London Gothic.
Hi, mate.
Hello,
Gentlemen,
mate.
welcome. Let me just play shuffle here with all the. I don't need to be at the top. You guys need to be at the top here so people can focus on you. And
Pretty important order now. What's happening there?
Just looking one on the right side. That's it.
So, I don't know what it's like in England to think of Gothic London, but here in the States, and maybe it's just me because I watch so much old television and listen to so much old radio, and maybe it's just because all the original buildings are still there and being used, but it's almost impossible to not think of London and think, yeah, Jack the Ripper's still stalking around over there, and Holmes is still catching a handsome cab off of 221B Baker Street there. What's the general feeling over there for fiction, I guess, or for what the perception of the city?
Well, most people here are really into it. The Victoriana, and really they love all that sort of stuff. There are still a lot of Gothic buildings in London and around in the major cities. York, I think, where Mike is, he's what I call north of the country, so up near where he lives as well, up near Chesterfield now. So, people are quite, they love it, and they love that eerie sort of, I don't know if you know the old Hammer horror films over there, if you got them.
Yes.
With Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, all those sort of things. So really, that's sort of inbred in a lot of the horror sub community in the UK. They love all that sort of stuff. But going back on what you said about what over in the States, I've got a lot of family in the States, and they mainly do like Utah area. And I went over in my 20s, and which is a long time ago now. And they actually asked me, some of their friends asked me if we still actually drive around in horse and carriages on the cobbly streets. So I had to just go with it and say, yeah, of course we do. We're always popping into the Houses of Parliament and stuff like that.
I'm reminded of I say this because Neil Gaiman, I read an interview with him. God, this was ages ago now too. But he was in California and being driven somewhere by a driver that had been hired to take him to wherever he needed to go. And she was pointing out all of the different buildings in the city, American West Coast. And she's like, yeah, that building there, it's been there for almost 45 years. And he's like, oh, really? Because you've got pubs that have been still stoned from like 600 years ago and still standing.
I think my house is about 70 years old. To be honest,
say this house is over 200 years old. So yeah, it's
that's
still
just
standing.
It's just run of the mill, really. But loads of people live in houses that are that old, don't they? You go to somewhere like York, and like York especially. I feel like York, because I mean, like London's still got loads of the old buildings, but there is a lot of modern stuff as well. Like some have had to be knocked down and stuff. So, but you go to somewhere like York, and literally everywhere you look, every street looks, just as it did hundreds of years ago, pretty much.
Yeah,
So,
it's a big part of keeping it in that. For tourist trade, they love all that. So a lot of the places are kept like that. Apart from, funny enough, some of the major parts of London where real estate is just, they're putting up great big tower blocks for banking companies and stuff like that. So we're losing it. From when I was young and living in London, and I saw the cobbly streets and the old wharfs and everything. It was still quite like the 18th century. So, but now everything, you go down there and there's a tower block here and a supermarket and everything's being sold off, which is a real shame. But they keep parts of it. They do keep parts of it going. But,
Even in comic books, like 1970s, every once in a while, Batman would, have a London adventure. And sure enough, there on the cover, it's first of all, it's foggy as hell. It's just,
yeah,
you have to draw in the fog. And then, it's like the street is cobblestone and brick. I'm like, really? I mean, you couldn't just put him in downtown or something?
It's not quite like that. I think it's not quite as foggy as well. I think that was more of the Victorian era sort of thing. But yeah, it's
not anymore. It was in the 70s. We still had bad fog. It was creepy walking around. Yeah,
so let's hear it for global warming, right? Yeah,
I think that's got rid of it.
Yeah, probably has. Climate's changing. Okay, so why in the world would you guys want to get into this crazy business of graphic novels and comics? I mean, I love it, by the way, but my friend Mike, who's a comic store owner and graphic novel publisher, he's got this saying, says there's a sure way to make $1 million in comics, and that's to spend $2 million in production. So why get into it? What drives you into it? I mean, first of all, I guess I'll ask, how long have you been comics fans?
Well, since I was a kid, I was big into comics. My dad was hugely into comics, so I grew up with them. There was like, my dad had like between 12 and 14,000 comics at any time. So every single night I could just, grab a new comic and read another comic. So I just grew up with it, and that's how I learned to draw, was drawing comics. And as for getting into it, I can't do anything else. I'm useless. So stuck with. So it's all I can do.
I'm completely the opposite. I never really had anything to do with comics or graphic novels. I was more horror. I loved horror films all the time, anything horrific like that. I've only just started to get into graphic novels now, since we've been collaborating together, myself and Mike. I've actually purchased a few just to see what they're like, and comics as well. I just bought some really good ones from called Ed Gein, Demon Hunter. I don't know if you know.
I know that one.
Yeah. So
Lucifer Storm.
Yeah. So I bought the first 3. I thought, I've got to see this. This is right up my street. I love it, and it was great. Yeah. So I'm just starting to get into them now. So everything from the way that I've written it is not. I've never seen a graphic novel. I never read one. It was all really basically a story that I had in my head. So.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to get a better picture out of here of this, because I show this graphic novel on stream and it looks like this. It looks like black. But
do you know that I cannot get hold of number one of that, because we missed the boat. We've only been on really Twitter and Facebook and Instagram for a relatively short period of time. So getting onto the back end of all these different people's comics and graphic novels. And I saw that, and is it Pete Gilmore?
Pete Gilmore and Mandy Summers, yeah.
What an artist that guy is. Yeah, I can't say about the story because I can't get hold of one. I've gone on there and I've pledged for the number 2. So yeah, if they want to be kind and let me have number 1, I'm quite happy to pay for it, but just can't get hold of it. But we love that. That's really that I showed it to Mike, I think, some of those images, and I said, "This is brilliant. I love it." Right up.
Well,
our
you
street.
can get it.
Oh, you can.
You can. It's soon. Soon you can get it.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah, because it's Mandy's got her own direct website, much like you guys do for London Gothic, stuntmancomics.com, and Jack the Ripper cover number 1A is on there, but it does say coming soon. So
Yeah,
patience will win out.
yeah, I'll have it soon.
Just have to keep watching it. So horror, I guess, is what drove you to come up with the plot for London Gothic. Do you want to tell us a little bit what the does the phrase elevator pitch carry across, or do I need to say lift pitch? And is lift pitch even a phrase in the UK?
Well, with that Americanized, half the time I say elevator and half the time I say lift. So I mean, we use most of what you say half the time, and then we get other British people going, "That's American. That's American. Say it properly."
Yeah. Whereas over here, we just if we start using British words, and we have people who do all the time, we're like, okay, we know you watch Monty Python. We got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is the pitch?
It's really, if you mean by pitch, like, where did it originate from?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to sell the story to somebody, say, you want to read this because it's about, and you've got like a minute and a half to get from floor 1 to floor 5 when the person's going to get off and quit listening.
Oh, I'd need more time than that because my brain don't work so good now. I'm getting old, but it's it's basically a good old-fashioned good and evil, good v evil. So you've basically you've got, it starts off with the crucifixion of Christ, and there's a society that take the nows that are said to have special powers, and they distribute them and hide them around the world because they know that there's an evil organization which are called the Sinestra that really, if they get hold of these things, then they're going to create hell on earth. And then we move forward in time straight into a Victorian era where there is a guy called the Duke, and he is the last of the Tutori, the Order of Tutori, which was set up as an offshoot from the Knights Templars. And their basic thing, they're the trained warriors, and they hunt down Sinestra demons and obliterate them before they get hold or near any of these secret places where these things are buried. These things, we call them the Miracalo. But unfortunately, they have been wiped out, and he is the last one, the last known living Tutori. And then the story really stems, we could take it backwards and forwards, but our story starts with what's going on in London at that time. And we've got an evil Lord Phineas, who is the leader, commander of the Sinestra, and he is going to go all out to get these Miracalos. And he is a real nasty piece of work. He doesn't care who you are, what color you are. He just wants power. And that's the way it flows. So he sort of recruits this army of demons, and they're all mythological and legends that we brought in. And it gets quite spicy and a bit horrific and gruesome at times. But yeah, it's one of those stories you just got to follow all the way to the end. And all I can say is it's just epic all the way through, right to the end scene. But that's basically as best as I could put it, as from someone who knows all the story and sits here constantly looking at it and has seen it and seen my
story. Yeah, because you're so close to it. Infinity Alejandro at Infinity Comics. Yes, sounds like a Brit. I mean, you would know. You live there, sir.
Hello, mate.
Alejandro is you can pick him out in the crowd. By the way, he's the only Sicilian living in England, and he's running Infinity Comics, putting out the Columns of Creation very soon. So watch for that. Some really good art we're seeing out of that. Let me share the screen here because I want to just give people an idea of what the website looks like, because this is, folks, a direct order. Yes, it's a direct order from me to you to go to the website. You can order these comics directly from the publishers. The link is right below the video. Go ahead and click on it right now. It will take you there. It will not take you out of the video. You'll still hear us talking. And I like that it's like very direct. Where'd my mouse go? My mouse disappeared. There we go. Sometimes it does that. And I put new batteries in it, so it's got no excuse. Very first thing you see, take note, folks. Order here. Button right up front. Just don't even worry about what it's about. You want it, buy it. Here's the button. Click it. Go do. You do have a 20-page sneak preview. We're going to skip that because I'm going to do it a little differently here. And it is a twisted, horrific, historic tale moving back and forth through the time of man, of light and dark, of myths and monsters, of good and evil, of death and destruction, of greed and avarice. You really went all out. Set in a fictional London era of deprivation and impoverished humanity, also known as 2022, where evil hides in the darkness of London's back streets and below the cobbled streets of slums. Yes, this is exactly the feeling I got from this. In fact, I had to read it slowly. Now, this is as an American who, like I said, I've watched tons of old, Jeremy Britt, Sherlock Holmes stuff, and I still watch, things like the streaming stuff for Doctor Who, some of the crime dramas that come across, and I still had to read it slowly because I'm like, what did he say? and I'm reading it. I'm not listening to it. I'm reading it. Like, what did? Oh, okay. Very, very thick in the slang department, which, if you want to be immersed in a world, then you definitely make that happen.
We wanted to make it as real as possible in that era. So there's not a lot of difference how, say, like I'm from London, I'm classed as a Cockney. So when there's characters in there talking Cockney, I wanted it to come across exactly how I talk it. Then you've got Jellicoe, who's Irish, and I wanted to write it as he's speaking as an Irishman would. So I know for some it does take a little bit of getting used to. It's one of those things. But I've had readers come back to me and say, "Oh my God, we love Jellicoe," because once we started reading it, we're talking Irish in our head. We can hear him all day long. It's like having Colin Farrell in their head. So yeah, it sort of gets there. It just takes a little bit of time, I think.
Yeah, I haven't run across, and I am reading the PDF. About half, maybe a third, maybe half. I don't know. I didn't look at the page number. Fortunately, I haven't run across any of the Cockney poetry yet. Like where you gotta. I'm just gonna run up the apples and pears. I'm like, I got you. Okay.
I didn't want it to get that bad. People looking up that on the internet, see what it means.
Be like homework.
It gets a bit
exactly,
doesn't it? Yeah. Right,
I don't mind when a book makes me study, but you do have the cast here, the Tutori and the Sinistra. These are the team good and team evil.
Yeah.
And what happened if I clicked here? Is that a video?
That's the trailer.
That is a video.
The trailer we put out.
I didn't recognize that as a trailer when I scrolled through. Otherwise, I would have downloaded it and loaded it here. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the screen, and I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to reshare it with sound because I didn't do that, and then we will be able to actually play and hear the video here. Let's do that. Okay.
It's out now. Not spring anymore. Yeah.
We need to add that audio sample into that video now.
Already out. It's not just it's no longer coming, folks. It's smoking its cigarette and ready to order a pizza. Adult show, people. So yeah, this is available right now. Place the order. Shipment happens. Of course, everybody here is in the U.S., so be prepared. If the shipping may be an issue at the moment, but definitely hit it. Is this available as a PDF as well? I mean, do you sell the? Okay.
Yeah, it's available as a digital download. Yeah.
Problem solved. Digital download for all those in the audience who do enjoy that sort of thing, and we have a lot of them. I'm of the mind of Stan Lee, where comics are like boobs, are good to look at, but I'd rather have one in my hand. And yeah, it's that kind of a day. But we have a lot of people who, my collection is full. I have no place to put stuff, or I'm working out in the field putting pipelines together. I can't carry boxes. So digital is the way they go. This is the dramatis personae. Jellicoe is the Irishman we just talked about. I love how when we first meet him, he's like, I rub soot into my mustache so that nobody can tell I'm Irish and I can drink in English pubs.
Don't bother with his hair, though. I mean, he's not the smartest tool in the box, is he, Jellicoe? But
he's brilliant.
When I last saw Jellicoe before the show, he was taking a bath with the dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a loon. He really is. He's based on some family in Ireland and my granddad. So yeah, it's brilliant.
He is partnered with the Duke, which is that the only name we get for him is the Duke?
He's Henry de Montfort, and he is actually the Duke of Wandsworth, which is a big area of London, quite let's say quite posh, quite a posh area. Even in the Victorian times, it was quite a wealthy area. So he's as a man, he's got money, but
he's also well trained in fighting.
He's an excellent warrior, yeah, and demon hunting. The Tutori's main purpose is that they hunt demons and try and keep the public, the general public, at bay. They don't want this war that's been going on for centuries. They don't want it to become known. So they try and keep it all underground. That's why a lot of it takes place. The demons know this as well, and they keep in the sewers a lot of the time. They stay underground or in the shadows.
So both sides want to keep the fight secret then? They
do, yeah. They've got some sort of accord going, but I can't give too much away because there's another 3 to come yet. But yeah, there is an accord. There's a lot of twists and turns, and there is a lot of moments coming throughout the next 3 graphic novels, especially the last one, that are just your chin will drop. You just go, I never saw that coming. You just won't see it. So yeah, it's interesting.
So the leader of everything evil is Phineas Cromwell, keeping with the family tradition, no doubt. Is he related in your fictional world to Oliver?
He's not. No. There's no relation there. It's just that we was looking for someone when I was writing it. I needed someone that would come across as evil and also as a bit, sort of a narcissist, a bit majestic in some ways. So you've got Oliver Cromwell, which he actually wasn't based on. The name Cromwell came from a very old film that I saw when I was, I don't know, mid-teens, and it was called Sword and the Sorcerer. And it was about a guy who had this special sword that used to fire the blades out and stuff like that. It was one of like the first Conans. It was before that. And there was his enemy was a guy called Cromwell. He was just called Cromwell, and he was an horrible, horrible git. And I've always loved that film. And I thought, well, let's have a think. Nobody likes politicians, so let's get him in there, in the House of Lords. they get to know what's going on. It's all cloak and dagger stuff. So let's put him in there, and then we can build that world around him because he's got total control. He wants power, and he is, like I say, a narcissist. He's just maybe slightly psychopathic, as you'll see when you read it. So yeah, it fitted in really well.
And then you have a sinister demon here. This is like a foot soldier. This is one of thousands. So
yeah. And as it goes on, we introduce the actual other demons into the stories over the next few chapters that are going to come on board to be like Phineas, is Cromwell's sort of right hand men.
So Mike, this goes to you here, because when you have monsters in a book, you have to make them distinctive, and you have to be able to reproduce them in the next panel, which can be a challenge. What elements did you draw on, and what kind of rules did you follow for making these demons? I mean, they're
so specifically for the I mean, we both me and Nick worked together on sort of all the designs, and we had a back and forth over everything. And I think specifically he wanted something sort of different to how demons are normally presented. He didn't want something sort of that you've seen in loads of other things before. And when I was going through the ideas of it, I was thinking of those like videos you see online where there's like I don't know what they call them, like some sort of night vision camera and they've caught some creature or something like that. I wanted to sort of draw on that, make him look almost a little bit alien as well. Like my thought process was something that looks creepy, but it's similar to a lot of things that in real life that people think they've seen or have caught on camera or something like that can sort of make them think. Because like if you saw that Sinestro demon from behind, somewhere in Roswell, you'd think, oh, it's an alien. So it's like I wanted it to sort of be potentially that, like, maybe these sightings were these Sinestro demons. So that's where I sort of started from as the premise for them. And then there's other elements. They eat humans, human flesh, so the teeth have to be quite prominent. I wanted them to be quite agile, but not particularly strong, so they're quite small. So a lot of those elements went into the design of them. But yeah, we worked on all the designs of the characters sort of together and reiterated until we were really happy with them.
The rest of the website here is the blog. If you want to follow along with how things developed from pretty much beginning to end, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we started to do that when we realised that we were getting close to actually starting to illustrate. So I thought it best just to start that and keep people up to date.
That's a great idea. I mean, when people do, like you had a Kickstarter update here. When people do the crowdfunders, they updates are important to people. So if you're going to do it on your own site as well, then yeah, you should have a blog section there where people can be updated on development. Of course, there's nothing to update now. The development is done.
We will still update that. I will still keep doing the blogs as we go along, just tell people what's going on, keep the readers, informed of everything. One of our main things is to just make sure that, we're always honest with the readers. If they like what you're producing, then you've got that sort of fan base. We want to keep hold of that as well. If our hard work is producing some happiness, then let's keep them enthralled.
I am bringing up the PDF here. I'm just going to click. What are you telling me? Oh, screw you. A little Adobe message popped up. Just to show some random pages here. This is where the police have been, have come across, a call for help. Obviously, it's dark out. There shouldn't be this big bright light coming out of this room, and what's going on in there. But oh, it's buffet time for the they've got a couple of people in here, and it's they attack the police. One of them barely gets away. Maybe, I'm not sure that any of them got away, to tell you the truth. But the Duke does hear the call, and rushes in to start eviscerating demons. He's the best there is at what he does, and what he does isn't pretty. To steal from Wolverine there. He does seem to have some enchanted weaponry or magical weaponry or holy weaponry. I'm not sure what paradigm you're following for that.
Well, the Duke does. He's got a sword that's been passed down through, the generations of the Tutori, and he's got two antique. They're actually, when we sort of researched them, they're 16th or 17th century pistols. And they are real. They exist. So we built on those and thought, well, if they were invented then the Tutori would have been the first to get them to hunt demons with. So they've been passed down the generations, and they take a special bullet, which is called an alta aqua, which is it's like a crystallized holy water, shall we say?
Oh my gosh!
So yeah,
I've never thought of like frozen holy water turned into bullets.
Yeah, it can be done. Luckily enough, they've got they're friends with a witch called Honora, so she's got the power. She makes a lot of the ammunition for these guys. But Jellicoe has a shillelagh. That's a shillelagh. So it's got a blade that comes out. So,
but it's not like taken from the Fey people, from the fair folk. It's like I just carved this out of wood and put a spike in it.
It's a special one. I can't say too much because it'll give it away. There's a lot of, as we go through all the chapters, and we get to the end or we start new chapters, slight origin stories come in. So it explains a lot of what is not being told now.
And once they do find out that, oh, the guy they were eating, he's still alive, we're gonna go get him some help. This is when Cromwell appears and he calls out one of the demons that's still kind of crawling around, says, "Who did this?" And it's the last one, the unknown fighter. Well, read the book; his name's in there, guys. He's not unknown. And Cromwell just I love how Cromwell takes care of this. It's like, if you want to start a fire, you just put a fire I don't know, emblem,
put
sigil.
some symbols on.
Yeah, and then you just say burn, and I used to,
what I really like about the magic system in it is that it's a very hard magic system, and it's so it's like, although like Phineas has these abilities and people have some abilities, they're all but useless in an actual confrontation. Like if someone attacks you, you haven't got time to draw a symbol out, maybe set the clothes on fire. So it's kind of impractical, but he's had this taste. He's had this taste of power and this small amount of power, and that's what's driving him. You sort of become intoxicated with gaining more power. So yeah, I really like that element to the story because it keeps it very grounded as well. It's not like he's not there chucking fireballs out at people because he knows dark magic. It's much more grounded, and all the symbols and everything are actually research from actual sort of folklore and witchcraft and things like that.
Yeah, I took 3 years of Latin in high school with the sole purpose of being able to cast spells, and it never worked.
we don't have any superheroes in there. We only have supernatural heroes and villains.
Yeah,
that'll work. I'm not going to share any more because spoilers. But I did want to show off, some of the sequential pages so that people get an idea of not just what your figural drawings were, which are shown on the website, but how the story progresses with the sequential art panels from one to the other. And it's a very intriguing and engrossing story, especially if you're a horror fan and you like that Hammer kind of approach. So again, I will reiterate, link below. Click on that. Now, as I haven't finished this book, but where do I finish? Is there a finish, or is this like a come back, next year, next month, or whenever for book 2? It's indie comics. We don't know when the next one's coming out. It takes a while.
I'll let Mike answer because he's illustrating chapter 2.
Yeah, so the next one will be out next year. Fingers crossed, early next year. But yeah, so it's the full story has been written, so it's 4 chapters. There's a potential for it to move on after that point, but there's 4 graphic novels, 4 chapters. This is part 1. So yeah, there is a chance for it to carry on, but yeah, that's how many chapters there'll be. They'll not all be the same size. They're we just sort of do the amount of pages we feel is necessary for that section of the story. I think the
And
last chapters.
This one's 92 pages in the PDF, which means there's probably about 80 to 84 pages of story when you take out, sketch pages and title pages.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think the next one will be a little bit bigger than that, maybe an extra 10 pages. And chapter 4 will probably be quite big because there's a lot of things to wrap up in that one. So, but yeah, so that's the whole story is already fully written. It's just down to me to crack on with the artwork.
Okay. And then after chapter 4, I'm guessing is when the trade collection comes together and you offer that.
Yeah.
Is this a 4-chapter story and then you guys do something else, or is this a 4-chapter story arc set in this universe and then you just start another story with the same characters?
It's a bit tricky, really. We've discussed it a few times. We really feel that if people want us to do more, then we can. I can write more into it because we could take this backwards, we could take this forwards in time. There's a lot of places we could go with it. But one thing that we've been talking about at the moment, and we're still really talking about it, is doing some origin stories that we get another illustrator on board. I will still write them, but we get another illustrator on board. While Mike's hammering away at London Gothic, is we get some small comics of origin stories that are black and white of some of the characters, possibly demons to start with, some of their origins, and then move on to like the heroes in it. But then it'll give people, it builds up that collection as well. I've noticed that a lot of the good graphic novelists have one main story and then little offshoots here and there. And with ours, it's such a big world that I didn't mean to create a big world. It's just happened. It's just one of those things. But
they run away with you.
Yeah. So, and I get a lot of people say to me, we really want to know, why did they do that? What made them do this? Why is that person evil? Why is that person a demon? Why is that person, just a mad Irishman?
Yeah, because you want to find out, how the Duke and the Irishman came together. How'd they become a team? I mean, you can imagine just walking up to him in a pub saying, "Hey, I'm a magical, weapon user. I take out demons. Want to go fight with me? Piss off!"
I think he'd turn around and go, "Yeah, let's have some of that."
yeah, he'd be straight up for it, wouldn't he?
Just accepts it as given. Yeah.
Will you point me to them and I'll have them.
Yeah. But yeah, those kind of I think we'd call them ash can comics here because they're just like they're not fully realized stories, like not 22 pages or something, but just some pages that are stapled together and it tells a little story and it fills out the world, fleshes out the backstory. Those would be very welcome in the collection, I think.
Yeah, we appreciate all the advice we get because I mean, unlike Mike, I mean, he's really experienced in the comics. He's been illustrating comics and stuff for a long time. Myself, I'm like I say, I've never really been involved in comics, so I don't know. So when I get readers who come on and they send me emails and say, "We really love this part and really love that," and it's like great stuff, but have you thought about doing an origin and doing this and doing that? So I'll take everything on board because we're learning. So anyone who's got any advice, we're always happy to take some advice.
So, Mike, have you done comics before? Have you been published?
No.
That people can find your stuff?
Yeah, well, not sort of. I've done. So when I did a lot of freelancing, illustrating, and designing. So I did bits and bobs. I did sort of like one-shot comics for people who hired me. Sort of like one-page comics. I've done some sort of like some corporate things, like some actual ones for as products for people to buy. So I did like some football comics, which were sort of like you did put your name in it and things like that. So I've done a few bits and bobs, and I've done some of my own stuff. But this is really the first sort of properly published, graphic novel that I've done. But I've been around it that much, and obviously with my dad being super into it and being exposed to it from being little, so but yeah, this is like my first sort of full published graphic novel. So.
All right. And Nick, this being your first written graphic novel, did you what was your how did you research how to write a graphic novel? Because it's different than just writing script. I mean, I have a 6 to 8 page comic book story coming out later this year, my first one, and I'm like, I'd rather write another 100,000 word destroyer novel than write another 6 page story. That these are hard because you got to.
Yeah, it was tricky. I've never professed to being a writer. I've never written anything in my life, and I just had this story, this world, and this story and these characters in my head for so long, like over 30 years, 40 years, and they developed over just time. And I just thought one day I've just got to get them out in the open, and I didn't know how to do it. And it was my wife really. On a Friday after work, sometimes I'd have a few single malts. Yeah. And I'd get a little bit, say happy, and I'd tell her the stories. What about if we had the Duke, and what about if we had a sidekick and all that? And she used to write them down in a journal. After a while, she said, "Oh, I've got to do this. I'll write them in a journal." So she said to me, "You're not getting any younger, and this story is really turning out into some sort of epic like war and peace thing. What do you want to do with it?" So I said, "Well, I'd like to get it out there, but for the basis, really, it was mainly for my kids, because they grew up with the little stories that I used to tell. One of the characters from 30 odd years ago was the Sandman I invented, and it was before Neil Gaiman. I'd never seen that. I know that now it was before him, but I never knew of him then or any graphic novels. And it was something that used to creep along on the rooftops and look in the windows, and if it saw a child and it was awake, then it would come in and get your eyes. And so I used to tell this to the kids, and I say, if you don't go to sleep, the Sandman's going to get you. So
oh boy,
we used to so I used to frighten the life out of them then. But
so you need to sell a lot of these books to pay for the therapy bills.
Luckily, they're all older now, so they love it. Yeah, I just thought, something's got to happen here. And then I said, my missus said to me, "Well, why don't you write it down?" I said, "I can't write. I don't know how to write a novel or a story like in a paperback or hardback book." And someone said to me, I can't remember, it was one of my sons, funny enough, who said to me, they're really into graphic novels, and they said, "Why don't you do a graphic novel with it, Dad? And then people will see it like you see it in your head, like as though it's on a telly." So I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Right, I'll try that." Still didn't know how to do it. So then I had the story, all the characters, developed it with Mike, and he told me basically how to do it and how to set it out. I did a script, and I remember sending it to Mike, and I said, "Right, there you go." And he sent it back, and he went, "Yeah, you really need to tell me if it's nighttime, daytime, what the weather's like, And I thought, right, okay, fine. And I don't know how I did it. Honestly, I just did it, and I just went bang, and I had 4 chapters done.
And there's no real right way to do it. I mean, I recommend people, read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, and then they kind of get a better idea of it. But a script for a comic runs the gamut from the old Marvel method, where Stan would tell Jack, said, "Hey, Jack, Spidey is stopping a Doc Ock while he robs a bank, and Aunt May trips. Go with it."
Yeah.
And then you have literally the first page of Watchmen. The script for that is 14 pages long.
Yeah.
It's page 1, panel 1. There's a butterfly in the upper left corner. It's a monarch. It's coming in from the northwest with a gentle breeze. It's just Alan just overwrites the panels. But you kind of find somewhere in the middle and explain. It's art direction. It's a story, but it's 90% art direction.
Yeah. Me and Mike have got such a good, we're really on the same wavelength. When I first met Mike, and I found him on a website, funny enough, just looking for artists.
I was getting ready to ask how you guys met up, so you're right in line with where I was going.
And he applied for the job, and I'll let him tell the story. I'll let him tell the story of how it went. But yeah, it was quite good.
He posted this job, and he sort of really. He said he was looking for someone to do a comic book, draw a comic book for him, and he was quite cagey with the details. Didn't really want to give anything away at that point.
Yeah,
Typical comic book writer.
yeah. And then so he'd done this really short summary, and I think what he was asking for is he'd asked for a panel, like a sample, just a panel of Jack the Ripper fighting a demon, and this was just I mean. Jack the Ripper's not in the story or anything, but this was just to get sort of the sort of flavour of it. And after reading that that it was like a horror set in Victorian London and all this, I just thought, I'm just gonna beat everybody on this job by overperforming. So instead of doing one panel, I did a whole page and turned it into a little story. And so I said to him that back, and of course, no one else had put that much effort in. So I kind of stole the job, really. But it worked out all right. So,
well, yeah, but you auditioned the right way because Nick, not having done comics, you didn't know what to ask for, so you asked for a picture representation, and that gives you a character pose. But Mike gave you sequential art, which tells you that he can make a page that can be read
and tell the story and it flow properly and things like that. Yeah.
So you had the right guy. Robert Roberts, one of those people I said that needs to have the PDF option, and Robert, they have the PDF option for download on this, so you can definitely take that. It says more comics like London Gothic. I can agree with that, having read what I've seen of it. Get some more out there. When will we have more out there, Mike?
I'll let you know. I'm not committing to anything. Hang on, just turn this light on.
I think realistically, we're probably looking at about the same time. It'll take us about sort of 10 to 12 months, I think, to get each chapter done. It's just so much work, isn't it, Mike? There's like the colouring, the lettering, and we send it off. We've got an editor guy that we send it to, and there's little tweaks. So yeah, it does take a while, as you know.
Plus, it's just me doing the art. So I'm doing the pencils, the inks, and the colouring and the lettering. But lettering doesn't take long. But
yeah, you are the one-man shop there.
It's full colour. Everything's full colour. We never when we met. We decided really when Mike read the scripts, he said, we'll do it black and white, obviously for cost. But when he read them, he said, no, I think we should do this all colour. And we agreed, because of the effects that he's so good at putting on there.
Yeah, and the palette for the color, I mean, it's largely orange. And I think that works well because, everything's, when it's night, everything's illuminated by gaslight. So, it's this very orange firelight. It's when it's daytime, it's not quite not the same thing. You have other colors in there, obviously, but is that? Did you think about that when you were doing the palette, or was it just sort of most of the pages came out orange? I wasn't even,
No, it was all a conscious choice, the Victorian London is a character of itself in the book, and we wanted to sort of get the atmosphere of Victorian London, and we want to capture that as much as possible. And also the other element with it as well is that we really wanted it to play out like a film or a TV show, and so that's why there's no narration to it. Everything's in dialogue, and there's establishing shots and we used a lot of landscape sort of panels because we wanted to give that feeling of a film. And we wanted the same with the effects. It's like I used a lot of sort of dark blacks and blended colors. So I wanted the line art not to be particularly visible. I wanted it to look real as possible. And I think that's with horror. I think that's important because if it looked like Deadpool, like a Deadpool comic book or something like that, and it was coloured that way. Although, there's ways you could use that with the contrast of gore and things like that. But I wouldn't have thought it would be as scary as it could be if you make it as realistic as possible. And so the things that are super real, or supernatural sort of pop more and they're more scary. So that was the idea behind it, the intention.
We have a very important question in the chat because you have sold a PDF. Roberts has picked up the PDF. How do I download it? That's important to the customer. Once they pay, what happens? Are they getting an email with a link?
Yeah.
You'll get an email. An email should come through with the link shortly after he's purchased it, and then he'll be able to download it.
Yeah.
All right.
You get personal email. Thanks, Robert.
Check your email, Robert. It'll be coming through there. And in the meantime, this is, if we were crowdfunding this, we would say that this was one of our shake and bake moments. That's any time that we have a campaign up and somebody puts money into it, or we see the numbers go up. If we just see the numbers go up, we assume that we helped. It was us. It could have been anybody from outside, but since Robert specifically said so, we have a shake and bake moment. Goes something like
it's shake and bake, and I help.
We do love it when our viewers actually help these campaigns or these projects move forward financially. So thank you. Yeah, you use PayPal. Look for the link. It'll come to whatever email you signed up with. So definitely check that out. Coming up on the top of the hour, is there anything more that should be discussed about London Gothic? I mean, anything we haven't covered that you feel is an important selling point that viewers should know about?
Well, for me, I mean, it's the just how detailed and how much sort of research went into the actual story. I mean, a lot of the characters, the demons, are based on real folklore and real legends throughout history and London's history and from around the world, really. So, like a lot of the characters that you'll see, you'll recognize. You'll go, oh, that's it's based on real things. And even when I was reading through the script, because this had happened multiple times, there were new characters, and I thought, oh, who's this? And so I'd searched the name up, and then there was this massive history of these sort of sordid stories, tales that people used to tell each other in a pub, hundreds of years ago about these characters. I don't want to give any away because not all of them have been introduced. Nearly 70 characters' names. Then
any spring-heeled Jack coming our way?
No Jack the Ripper, no spring-heeled Jack. Unfortunately, we try to steer clear of the most common ones. I've brought in a lot of there's some myths and legends there that some people will know, some people won't know so well, and they were just prime just to be demonized, and especially in this head. What goes on up here, I just thought, this is great. I'm going to proper fuck these characters right up. They're going to be demons of the highest order, It's just
the myths and legends that come out of Britain. I mean, in general, people think, oh yes, King Arthur, the sword and the stone. Like, no. You got to remember the little stuff.
Yeah.
When you call for your dog, it was required that you point at the dog. You say, dog. Because if you don't point and you just say dog, there could be a fairy around there who's named Dog, and it will make your life hell because it didn't know you weren't talking to it. Names are important.
It is,
wow.
And the places as well. There's a place. The places were researched. There's a lot of truth. It's entire truth. In chapter 1, there's an island just off of Venice called Poveglia Island, and if you research that is where they used to basically take shiploads of plague victims and leave them and dump them on the island to die. And you're not allowed to visit it today. You can go around it by boat, but you're not allowed to step foot on the island. There was, I think it might have been pre sort of 1900, they built a hospital there after so many years of the plague victims being there. They thought it was safe. But I think there was so much sickness, they said it was cursed. So they don't allow anyone to go on there.
So nobody lives there at all.
No. It's not a large island, is it? It's
a tiny little just a little tiny little island off of Venice. It's very if you research it, there's guys on the internet. You get guys that they'll go to all these scary places like down where they're not supposed to go, like tube stations or subways and things like that. And there's guys on there. There's a couple of videos that they crept on. They got a boat and went on there, and they were mooching around. And there is skeletons of kids, and it's an awful place. And in the end, I think the authorities, the Italian authorities, found out that they were over there and had to do a runner and get off the island quick. But
I would just fly a drone over it,
it's all overgrown, a lot of it. But the hospital was still there. They was going into the hospitals, and there was all like the old beds and bedpans, and it's all like a real. You can imagine one of these ghost hunting tours going in there, But they wouldn't allow. You have to have special permission to go over there. You're not even allowed to film now, I don't think.
I guess they think that there's a possibility that there's still living plague specimen, and don't bring that back to shore.
Well, maybe, or just lots and lots of, horrible ghosts or demons.
Yeah, could be that as well. Now that you've done a graphic novel, Nick, has the bug bit you? Are you going to do any other stories other than London Gothic?
I've been thinking about, like I said, the origin stories. That's something we're talking about at the moment, and we have spoken quite a bit about taking it forward in time, taking it back in time, stuff like that. But not as far as I've got more of stories in my head that would make good paperback novels. I'm very, very, very warped. As anyone who reads London Gothic is going to think, who wrote this? This geezer's not right, But the stories that I've got in my head, I have weird little snippets that I write down of. I'll give you an idea. One of them at the moment is an old age pensioner serial killer who dresses up as a lady in the 70s and goes around parks and tube stations, and he kills young women. So it's just weird stuff that comes in there, but it's something I couldn't probably put in a graphic novel there because we just wouldn't have time.
Did you not see the video for Grandma Chainsaw at the beginning of the show?
Brilliant. I like that. That was great. Yeah.
Definitely put that in the graphic novel.
I knew that'd be strange. I thought Nick's going to be watching this. He's going to be like, I'm having that. That looks great.
Brilliant. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff in my head that is based on in London when I was a kid, and my older sort of siblings used to tell me stories. And funny enough, one of them was, and we never knew this day if it was true or not, but there was a young lady, and she was driving around one of the commons, like the parks, and it was late at night, and she sees an old lady in a bus shelter, and she just can't see her face, and she's got a handbag, and she falls over, says, "I'll give you a lift," and this old lady doesn't say anything, but she feels sorry for her, so she gets out, opens the door, the old lady gets in. But while they're going up the road, she's talking to her, and she's not saying a word. Her head is just down, this old lady. And she gets a little bit worried, this young girl. So she says, "Well, I think one of my lights are out. Could you go and have a look?" So the old lady gets out of the car, goes to have a look. The young girl drives off, realizes that the bag is in the front of the car. And she feels really bad about it. So she goes to a police station and drops the bag in. And she says to the sergeant on the desk, "I've got this bag. This old lady, she didn't talk. She creeped me out. I'm really feeling bad about this because she's left the bag." And he gets the bag and opens it up, and it's full of knives. And they say, "It's not an old lady. This has been going on for some time. That's an old man dressed as an old lady." So, there was that story, and I thought that would make a cracking,
He was just taking them off the street.
Yeah, brilliant. So there's all like weird stuff that goes on like that I sort of take and pick parts out of little urban legends from London and stuff like that.
There's every place has its legend. I mean, I'm here in Northwest Arkansas, which is central of the country. And I mean, not super populated at all. The next town over is Eureka Springs, where I am used to be Eureka Springs. And they kind of said, yeah, we're our own little town. Same postal code, though. So it's the same place. And there's a hotel that has a little pizza restaurant at the top, but it's haunted. And I was like, okay, every town's got its haunted hotel. And I did the research on it. The hotel used to be a hospital. And Dr. Baker was like one of these, like Dr. Kellogg was. He opened up a spa. He's like, you come here, and we have the spring waters and all the treatments I give you heals everything. It's all for your health. And people started finding jars with body parts in them. People were checking into the hospital, and they weren't checking out. And he was doing all kinds of macabre research. I mean, just like a couple of years ago, somebody in the woods near the hotel found more jars that were buried in this suspended in liquid of different body parts. They have no idea how many people this guy killed. He was a very flamboyant character in the town. I mean, they said he wore purple suits with pinstripes, had a big thick watch chain, top hat.
Was it Willy Wonka?
Yeah, very much like that. And people would just come into the hospital.
You've got it. You could have a serial killer, Willy Wonka.
Stick him in chapter 5, Nick. We'll get him in chapter 5.
Oh,
brilliant!
man.
I love it. I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
I mean, it's not awesome. That's terrible. But I mean,
it's a long time ago.
It's a crazy story. Crazy story.
But what about you, Mike? Has the work you've done on London Gothic opened up doors at other places for you to do some artwork for people, or you just?
Well, I'm not sleeping much. That's for sure. Having to do. No, I'm kidding. I'm just working on this at the moment. I'm not really interested in doing anything else until I complete this. This is my one and only job at the moment. So yeah, I'm focused on this. But hopefully after this. But I think, to be honest, I'm not sure. I mean, it depends on what we do. I mean, when all 4 are out, we'll make a decision on if we're going to carry it on, or if we're going to have a break, or if we do another story. But I think we'll just have to sort of play it by ear at that point. And maybe even if we have a break or something, I'll do a personal project. Similar to Nick, I've had a story I've been working on since I was 16 and adding to, and it'd be nice to maybe do a bit of that. But
yeah,
probably do it under the LG comics. I think we spoke about that. Maybe we could do that. But yeah, I think we just have to see how it's going when once we get all 4 chapters out, and plans might change. So,
all right. Well, gentlemen, we've reached end of the show here. A little bit over, but we're not constrained by too much time wise, other than the fact that it's getting very late where you are. So I will give you back your day. Thank you so much for bringing London Gothic onto our show and letting our viewers check it out. Best of success with it. And when number 2 comes out, I do hope you'll remember us again and reach out and let us talk more about that.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. We had a really good time.
All right, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for watching and participating. We don't have a show without you here to watch it. We're just a podcast falling in the woods, making no noise at all. And while you were here, as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good afternoon.